3A, skill practice. I will do the front of the sheet with you, the first 3 problems. You are then going to do the back of the sheet on your own. This chapter, in your homework, you have been working on adding fractions. You have all of the skills you need in order to complete this skill. We just have not formally done it together yet. You have done this in elementary school. Let's look at the steps together. The first thing you need to do, and that you should always do, is you should stack your fractions. I rewrote the problem here for you already. On the back, you're going to have to do this step on your own. 5/12 plus 1/3. Then we need to find out what they have in common. What is the common denominator? Or what can we turn 12 and 3 into that is the same? I have started the skip counting or the multiplication chart for you. We're going to finish it. 12 plus 12 more or times 2 is 24. Next is 36. And finally is 48. For 3, we have 3, 6, 9, 12. Now, if we look at what we have, 3 is very small, but also we have a 12 and a 12. 12 and 3 have 12 in common. This first one I already did for you. We don't have to change it. It's already a 12, so we're just going to move it over. The bottom fraction, 1/3, we need to change into something 12. We've been doing this math all chapter. You're going to work backwards and divide. 12 divided by 3, which gives us 4. If we have a 4 at the bottom of our giant 1, you have a 4 at the top of your giant 1. 1 times 4 will give you 4. We are adding these fractions, so we are going to end up doing 5/12 plus 4/12, or 5 plus 4. That's going to give us 9. Our denominator of 12 stays the same. We wanted it to be the same in order to add them, so when we solve, we keep it the same. 9/12 is something we could simplify. If I put in my giant 1, 9 and 12 both have a 3 in them, so I can divide out a 3. 9 divided by 3 will leave me with 3. And 12 divided by 3 will leave me with 4. The solution would be 3/4. Make sure you have shown all of the steps so that you can look back when you do it the backside by yourself. Our LCM, or our common denominator, was 12. Let's look at problem number 2. Again, the first step for any addition problem is to simply stack up your values. 3/10 plus 1/4. That has already been done for you. Then we're going to focus on our denominators. 10 and 4 are not the same. We need to make them the same. 10 and 4. If we skip count our 10s, we're going to have 10, 20, 30, and 40. If we skip count our 4s, we're going to have 4, 8, 12, 16. Right now, I do not have anything that's the same. 16 is much smaller than 40, so I'm going to keep going with my 4s. After 16 would be 20. At this point, I can stop. I have a 20, and I have a 20. My lowest common multiple, or my common denominator that I'm going to end up using, is going to be 20. If I move back over here, my 10 is going to change into a 20, and my 4 is going to change into my 20. That is my new denominator. That's what they have in common. Now we need to use our giant 1. Again, this is nothing new. You have been doing this for the last chapter. 20 divided by 10 is 2. If you have a 2 at the bottom of your giant 1, you have a 2 at the top of your giant 1. 3 times 2 will give you 6. If we look at our second fraction, 20 divided by 4 is 5. I have to put that at the top of my giant 1 as well. 1 times 5 is 5. Now I add 6 plus 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. My denominator is going to stay 20. 11 is a prime number. It can only be divided by 1 or 11. 20 cannot be divided by 11. 11/20 is my final answer. Next problem. Now, even though this is subtracting, we're going to solve it the exact same way we've done the last two addition problems. First, we stack it. 3/4 minus 2/3. Notice I kept them in the same order. 3/4 was first and 2/3 came second. Now we need to find out what 4 and 3 have in common, because right now they are not the same. 4 and 3. If we skip count our 4s, we're going to have 4, 8, 12, 16. If I skip count my 3s, I have 3, 6, 9, 12. Perfect. They have 12 in common. My LCM, or my common denominator, will be 12. Now that I have found that, I'm going to go ahead and put that over here. Both of my fractions have to now have a denominator of 12. If I look at my top fraction, 12 divided by 4 gives me 3, so 3 goes in my giant 1. 3 times 3 will give me 9. 12 divided by 3 will give me 4. So I have to have a 4 at the top. 2 times 4 will give me 8. This time, be careful, we are subtracting. 9 subtract 8 will leave us with 1. The denominator will stay 12. Make sure the front side of your skill practice is filled out. Now, use the notes you took to help you answer the problems on the back. You can also use your old warm-ups to help you with the last 3 skills that are chapter skills. They are not fractions, but there are examples on your warm-ups to guide you. When you are finished with the skills, play the video and check your work. Make any corrections that are needed. Pause the video now and complete the back side of this sheet. When you are done, hit play and check your work. First problem, step 1, stack them. 8, 6 plus 6 ace. I need my denominators to be the same. I'm going to put in the structure, my giant 1 and my new fraction. If I think about 6 and 8, 6 and 8, skip counting my 6's, give me 6, 12, 18, 24. If I skip count my 8's, I'm going to stop right there. Maybe I'll have to go further, but I'm going to stop there for now. I'm going to have 8, 16, 24. Perfect. 24 and 24. 24 is going to be my common denominator. 24 and 24. 6 or 24 divided by 6 is 4. 6 times 4 is 24. If it's at the bottom of my giant 1, it's at the top. And 8 times 4 is going to give me 32. 24 divided by 8 leaves me with 3. It goes at the top of my giant 1, and 6 times 3 will give me 18. I am adding these fractions. 32 plus 18 will leave me with 50 over 24, which is an acceptable answer. However, they're both even, so technically you can divide them by 2 or break them in half. If you divide 50 by 2, you have 25. And 24 divided by 2 will give you 12. 25/12 would be your final result when it is simplified. Moving across. Again, first thing you always do is stack them. 1/2 subtract 1/5. I'm going to put my structure in, which means I'm going to put in my giant 1 to make a change and have my new fraction bar. I'm looking at my denominators. 2 and 5 are not the same. As I think about the number 2 and 5, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 5, 10. 10 is going to be my common denominator. 2 and 5 can both become a 10. 2 times 5 is 10, and 1 times 5 is 5. 10 divided by 5, or 5 times 2 is 10, and 1 times 2 is 2. This time, we are subtracting. 5 subtract 2 will be 3/10. 3 is a prime number and only can be divided by itself. 10 cannot be divided by 3, so 3/10 is my final result. For the next one, again, they are being stacked. 7/18 plus 1/3. 18 is a big number, so I'm not going to go too far with skip counting my 18s. 18 and times 2 will get me 36. That's far enough. 3 is going to be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Because I don't have to change my top, 18 is my common denominator, I'm just going to move it over so it can be restacked. 7/18. Then I'm going to put in my giant 1 to change my second fraction. If you put a giant 1 in here, that's just fine. Just draw an arrow through it. And I need my second fraction to become an 18. 18 divided by 3 is going to leave us with 6. 1 times 6 is 6. This time, we are adding. 7 plus 6 is 13 out of 18. 13 is a prime number. It can only be divided by itself. 18 cannot be divided by 13, so 13/18 is our final result. If you need more fraction practice, there is a lot of fraction practice available. Check the agenda for help. Let's continue. The Water Park of America sold 50 tickets total. We know that 50 is the total. They just told that to us. 50 total. 90% of the tickets were child tickets. On my scale, right now, I am going to highlight 90%. That is the value we are looking at. In order to use this percent ruler, we need to take 50% and break it up into 10 parts, or find 10% of the number. 50 total divided by your 10 total parts will mean that each set of 10, or 10%, is worth 5. You're going to skip count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. The solution, or 90%, is going to be 45 child tickets. Convert the following fraction into a percent. In order to be a percent, it has to be out of 100. I'm going to put in my giant 1 and make this a fraction out of 100. 100 divided by 5 will give us 20. If we have 20 at the bottom of our giant 1, we have 20 at the top. 3 times 20 will give you 60. 60 over 100 is 60%. You could have also taken the fraction 3/5. The fraction bar means to divide. 3 divided by 5 gives you 0.6 or 6/10. To make it a percent, you're going to multiply 100. Once you multiply 100, you will get the same result. Either strategy is just fine. For the final one, there were 286 graders. Again, there's your total. 80%, that says 60%. 60% of students say that pizza is their favorite lunch. How many sixth graders say that pizza is their favorite lunch? Again, you need to take your total of 280 and find 10%. In order to do that, you're going to break it into 10 parts. 280 divided by 10 is going to give you 28. That's how you're skip counting. 10% is equal to 28. 20% is going to be 56. 30% would be 84. 40% would be 112 students. 50% would be 140 students. And 60% is going to be 168 students. 168 students say that pizza is their favorite lunch. Make sure you have all of the work on your sheet. Again, if you need any more practice on the fractions, check your agenda. There is other help there as well. Make sure for your planner page you wrote down that you have to complete this 3A skill sheet by tomorrow. If your review is not yet done, it must be done. And also that homework packet. If you have any homework packets out there, get them done, completed at a high level, and turn them in. Your test is on Tuesday, November 20th.